हो रहा है? गुड। आप बताइए, शुरू करूं? हम्म? ये माइक्रोफोन, शायद माइक्रोफोन चल रहा है। गुड, वेट। ओके। Let's settle down. Okay. Now, I have a small question to ask. How many of you are well versed with English? How many of you would like me not to speak in English, but in some other language? Hindi, Marathi? All of you are okay with English? Good. So then I will speak in English. So, what I'm going to talk about is a couple of questions that usually students get when they come and visit TIFR. And not only students, their parents also, their teachers also get when they visit TIFR. And two of the most asked questions are, why do PhD? And why we do that PhD at TIFR? Okay. So what I'm going to do is, in this talk, I'm going to quickly or briefly introduce you to TIFR, what we do at TIFR, what are different things that happen at TIFR. Then I will give you a little bit information about graduate school at TIFR. And then we can have question answers where you can ask questions if you feel like asking. Okay. So this will not be a science talk. So if you have come for a science talk, stay back. You will see something related to science, but something more important and more interesting about TIFR. So naturally, the question is, why do PhD? But before even asking this question, why do PhD? Of course, when I'm talking about PhD, I'm talking about PhD in science. Okay, because we are here for Science Day celebrations, and we are here to see scientific aspect of TIFR. So when I'm saying PhD, the PhD is PhD in science. So why do PhD in science? Okay. So if you look at research that is happening overall, I mean, worldwide, in terms of, or in science, whatever the research happens, it is broadly divided into two categories. One is a basic research, which is called fundamental research, which is what TIFR is known for. And the other is applied research, which is what you will see every common man asks. Okay, there's a common question which all scientists get. So a scientist will come up and say, oh, I actually discovered something. Say an astronomer can come and say, I discovered an exoplanet. And then the common man will ask, okay, how does it help me? What does it do to me? I mean, is it gonna give me money tomorrow, or is it gonna give me good food, or is it gonna give me good health care? So these are two different aspects of research. One is basic research, and the other is applied research. TIFR takes pride in doing something called basic research, fundamental research. Now, what is so special about fundamental research? So, as it is listed on University of Texas's website, which I have taken it from there, you see, basic research, it is about desire to expand knowledge. Okay, to know more, to know better, to know things which we do not know so far, and to explore world, our universe, or whatever that we see around. It's about curiosity driven. The basic research, the fundamental research, is curiosity driven. Okay, it has it intends to answer three major kind of questions that we keep asking, which most of the time your teachers say don't ask. That is, why something happens, what happens, and how does it happen? I mean, how are things happening around us? It increases understanding of fundamental principles that govern most of the things that are happening around us. Um, and this is the most important aspect, and that's where common man gets repelled by fundamental research, because it does not have immediate commercial objectives. Okay, you found an exoplanet. Maybe Elon Musk might be interested in going and sending a mission and going there, but it has no commercial gain as such, right? um, it may not necessarily result in an invention or a solution to a practical problem. And that's where fundamental research is different than applied research. Because what happens in applied research? New knowledge acquired as specific commercial objectives, products, procedures, and services, and answer to specific questions aimed at solving practical problems. Now, that's what, if you ask me, that's what engineers do, right? That's what medical sciences do. That's what the kind of research that happens, or chemists, or for example, pharmacists, they do. They invent medicines, right? They invent newer molecules to act like medicines for against certain diseases. And that has a direct application. However, what is so special about fundamental science is that a fundamental science or a basic discovery today has a root for some great application tomorrow. So all the applied research that is happening currently, and all the technologies that you guys are using, they are all rooted in basic research, fundamental research that happened 2 decades, 3 decades, even a century ago. Okay, and that's why fundamental research is important. And we are human beings; we are not animals. I mean, we are animals. We are special animals. Okay, so we are human beings, and the quest for knowledge is something that drives us and makes us different than the general animals that you see around. And fundamental research is the peak of this quest that we seek the knowledge through. Now, TIFR is involved in basic research. And if you want to do basic research, if you want to do fundamental research, you should be an expert in a field of science. And to become an expert in field of science, you have to study. Now, when we say study, not reading textbooks, but study means look at things that are happening around, do experiments, figure out the laws behind whatever is happening around, put them down in the form of mathematical equations, and predict and tell about these laws and simplify their understanding. That's what that's what we mean by becoming an expert. Okay, and to become an expert, one of the rules to make you expert is to do PhD, and that's why we should do PhD. Okay, so if you want to be an expert in science, any branch of science, do a PhD in science. Okay, now there are some institutes which are dedicated for research, and there you can go and become PhD students. Okay, and do your research. They are all listed here, and you can see that the institutes which are involved heavily in fundamental research are like TIFR, IISc, BRC, Raman Research Institute, and many more. There are also institutes which are involved in applied sciences, applied research, and you can become or do PhD in those places as well. Now, why TIFR? So before going for why TIFR, let me explain or show you what TIFR does. What is TIFR is all about, okay? So TIFR, the main campus of TIFR is in Mumbai. That's where you are right now, okay? And that's where TIFR actually started. Actually, the TIFR started in IISc in 1945. And then you must have seen the web series. How many of you have seen the web series Rocket Boys? Good. This audience is good. They are not watching web series. But in Rocket Boys, you might have seen that TIFR was actually started in IISc and then eventually shifted to Mumbai. And this particular campus came into existence in 60s. Okay, so that's the main campus of TIFR. But apart from this campus, TIFR also has many centers, okay, specialized centers. Like we have a Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, which is in Chembur, near Mankur. Then we have a Center for Applicable Mathematics, that is in Bangalore, which started in 1990. Then we have National Center for Biological Sciences. This is also part of TIFR. It started in 1991. Then we have National Center for Radio Astrophysics, which started in 1994 in Pune. Then International Center for Theoretical Sciences started in 2007. That's in Bengaluru. And the latest addition is TIFR Hyderabad, the second campus of this institute, which is coming up in Hyderabad. It has already have few buildings and the bigger campus is coming up. Now, apart from this, so as you can see, TIFR is spread fairly larger places in India. Apart from this, we also have TIFR centers, TIFR field stations. So uh, there is a um, field station at Ooty on cosmic ray research. Then there is a gravitation research that happens in Gauri Bidnur. Then we also have National Balloon Facility that is at Hyderabad. We have a GMRT, which is a giant meter wave radio telescope, which is associated with NCRA near Khodad, near Pune. We also have right now a facility in Panchmari, which looks at the wildlife conservation in that area. And we also have gamma ray telescope in Hanle near Ladakh. Now, apart from this, TIFR, so these are the basic centers and field stations that TIFR has, and that's where all the research happens in TIFR. Now, what kind of research happens in TIFR? So TIFR, as you can see, the research that is carried out in TIFR is principally in 6 areas. So what are those 6 areas? Physical sciences, mathematics. Now, these are the 2 branches that actually started first in TIFR. Then chemical sciences, biological sciences, computer science, and the most interesting is science education. So TIFR also conducts research in science education. And what is science education? It's about how a science can be taught. Okay. And Humira Center for Science Education is majorly involved in doing this science education. Okay. Under physical sciences, TIFR undertakes research in astronomy and astrophysics. It does research in high energy physics. It carries out research in condensed matter physics, in atomic and nuclear physics, as well as in theoretical physics. Now, all this research that happens is a basic research. It's a fundamental research that we undertake. Now, in chemical sciences, the research that happens is in molecular biophysics. Then you have bioinorganic and biomimic chemistry, nanosciences, catalysis, chemical physics, and various other chemistry branches that actually are undertaken research in TIFR across centers. Under biological sciences, imaging, physiology, metabolism, molecular cell biology, neuroscience, developmental biology. These are the various sub-branches of biology which have been looked at. In mathematics, there is number theory, Lie group, representation theory, geometry, topology, differential equations. And under computer science, you have topics covered like communication and cryptography, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and algorithm and complexity, and various other topics which are theoretical computer science. Okay. Now, TIFR is also part of Quantum Mission of India. That's a Government of India initiative to have our own quantum computers. And some of you might have seen one of the first quantum computers in India that has been developed in TIFR. And TIFR is also working on things like quantum computation, quantum information technology, and teleportation, both theoretical as well as experimental aspects. This is a very important activity that happens in National Center of Biological Sciences, which is about wildlife conservation. This is also a very important research area that has been undertaken by TIFR. National Balloon Facility also launches a lot of stratoscopic balloons. They carry payloads and they look at cosmic rays and weather patterns and agricultural surveys. And these are also used for fundamental research. Okay. I'll show you one small movie where how the balloons are actually sent in the atmosphere, and how they carry the payloads, which actually uh, takes the spectrometers or all other instruments with them, which actually make the measurements in the upper atmosphere. So you can take a look at this small movie. So that's a balloon which has gone up, and that's the payload here. That's a payload which will go with it. So this facility has, for example, been used by ISRO recently in order to test its Chandrayaan related instruments. So as you can see that these kind of instruments are flown in the atmosphere to make measurements in the upper atmosphere or a stratosphere. Okay. Now, mathematics has also been a core area of research in TIFR all along, right from the beginning in 1945. TIFR also has this picturesque field station. This is in Hanle, this is in Ooty, cosmic ray research. This is in Pachmari, where there is now an NCBS center to look at wildlife. And this is TIFR's giant meter wave telescope. Now, TIFR has also been a mother to many institutions, right? Like, for example, BARC, ISRO, Electronic Corporation of India, Semiconductor Laboratories, Samir, CDAC and CDOT. These are all these all organizations, they actually were initiated through fundamental research in TIFR. And once they became big enough to be on their own and applied enough, they were dissociated from TIFR and were formed as their independent entities, except BRC. BRC is a sister institute of TIFR. They both came simultaneously. Okay. So now, having known this, what can we do to come to TIFR? If you want to do so, as you can see, TIFR is one of the premier research institutes in India. And if you want to do research in any of these sciences or any of these branches, I think you should do PhD. And the best place to do PhD in India, or one of the best places to do PhD in India, is TIFR. And what we do in TIFR is a deemed to be university under UGC. And we offer 3 courses: Masters in Science, MSc in Wildlife and Conservation. This actually happens in NCBS. This is a 2-year course. And you can do PhD. The MPhil is now gone. But we have a PhD, which is either integrated MSc PhD or a PhD, which is 6 or 5 years course, where you can do your PhD in TIFR. Now, TIFR Graduate School, now, of course, all school children will feel it's so stupid that we finish our school, then we go to college, we finish our college, and then we go to school, right? Because after masters or after bachelors, you join TIFR for PhD, and that is called graduate school. So as a term suggests, you actually come to a school after your graduation. Okay, so but it's a school because it is again a new beginning for you to understand far more interesting and advanced aspect of sciences. Anyway, it is called graduate school. So we have TIFR as a graduate school, and the admission to graduate school happens through nationwide entrance tests that usually takes place in December all over India. There are other national eligibility tests which also can be used to enter in TIFR system. And after clearing these tests, you will be called for interview. And if you clear the interviews, you will be admitted to the TIFR graduate school, the grad school. Okay. So that's how you can enter TIFR, and then you do your PhD, become a scientist, and then you do all these kind of fancy experiments to satisfy your quest for knowledge, right? Now, if you want to come to TIFR and do research or do any scientific work, PhD is not the only way, or being a scientist is not the only way to come to TIFR and be part of this exciting, scenario. You can also do PhD somewhere else and come over here to do advanced studies beyond PhD as a postdoctoral fellows, research associates. You can also become a technical or scientific person over here by becoming a scientific officer and be part of bigger missions that TIFR conducts or TIFR is heading. And or you can be a scientist by completing your PhD. So all this information you can find on website of TIFR, which is www.tifr.res.in. So I will urge all of you to go to this website, find out and see whether you would like to make would you like to make the PhD as your option for career? And if yes, if you want to be scientist, then please do consider TIFR as one of your possibilities of doing PhD. So with that, I thank you all. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Yeah, there's a question.
Hello. Yeah, we all know how TIFR is important in our country and how well-recognized institute. But it provides research once you complete your post-graduation, right?
Yeah.
Like in many Western countries, they have a small research programs during summer vacation for high schoolers, so that they will develop that mindset for research. Because in our education system, it's not imbibed in India, especially. So can TIFR start some initiative for high schoolers research during vacation periods?
So there are some programs that are running in Home Center for Science Education. First of all, for example, the students, high school students, after clearing certain tests, also be part of Olympiad initiative that happens in TIFR Home Center, and they get exposed to good amount of experimentation and fairly hands-on experience in learning things about sciences. Apart from that, for undergraduates, so as you can see, TIFR also takes student after their BSc. So actually coming to TIFR is post BSc is possible. Uh, uh, Students who are doing their bachelors also are welcome to come for summer projects. So there are summer projects program that happen. In fact, TIFR also conducts a program called Vigyan Vidushi for girl students, particularly in physics, computer science, and mathematics, who are either in their first year of masters or third year in the 4-year bachelor's program. So that is a level where we expose student to come. Apart from that, there is the NRUS initiative in Home Center where students can come and spend longer period of time and do research projects with the scientists in TIFR as well as Home Center. So there are some initiatives which are in place, particularly for a high school level students to come and do research. That has not yet entirely started. We will see. Yeah.
Questions? Thank you for this wonderful session. Just one question, and out of curiosity, could you give a few examples of some of the fundamental research that has been done, published out of TIFR in last few years, just to understand, what is the impact that some of those have had?
Yeah. So, for example, okay, one of the latest research that has come out of TIFR family is that we have carried out complete genetic coding of elephants in India, and we have figured out that there are actually 4 different species of elephants that are present in India, which were not known earlier. And now we know that different parts of India actually house different kinds of elephants belonging to different families. Okay, so that's, for example, is a fundamental research. It has no direct application. Okay, similarly, very recently, TIFR scientists through GMRT have detected a very low frequency oscillations in the space, which actually are reflection of the kind of activities that are going on in the universe. And TIFR has been part of gravitational wave exploration, which has been a very recent discovery. TIFR scientists also participate in, for example, this CERN, where the large hadron accelerator, the collider is there. So TIFR scientists also are part of that, and those discoveries are also driven by the kind of activities that TIFR provides there. Apart from that, in chemistry, the TIFR scientists have discovered nanoparticles, gold nanoparticles, which actually can show a large amount of efficiency in collecting carbon dioxide, and in principle can have application if one can translate it into industrial scale. But it's a fundamental discovery that how nanoparticles and plasmonics on nanoparticles can be useful to carry out these chemical reactions and be catalysts in such chemical reactions. So there are many such discoveries that have happened. So the examples that I've given are fresh in last 2 years. Okay, so like that, over last decade and 2 decades, many such discoveries have taken place in TIFR. So, for example, in one of the labs we will find over here, the TIFR scientists have produced environment like or situation like what you see in stars. So they have generated a giant magnetic field, a huge strong magnetic field using very strong lasers focused on solid targets, and they have generated those kind of magnetic fields and measured them, and now they can study what kind of effect or what kind of effect these magnetic fields have on basic elements and atoms and molecules. So that kind of discoveries and that kind of experiments are running in this particular campus also. So these are the kind of, so of course this has no direct application. These are very fundamental discoveries. So these are, the kind of exciting results that TIFR has been part of. Some of them are completely driven and entirely in-house discoveries. Some of them are part of bigger collaborations worldwide, because many of the discoveries require bigger infrastructure, and that one country or one institute cannot afford to have it. So there, TIFR has been part of national and international missions. So that's how many of the fundamental discoveries have taken place. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Any more? Okay.
Hi, thank you very much for the amazing session. I just had two questions, if I may. One is I wanted to know a little more on the science education part of TIFR. I mean, where can we get more details? Of course, we'll find it on the website, but what's happening there? It sounds interesting, and since I'm interested in that space. And secondly, I saw all of your institutes are majorly in cities, right? So do you all also have centers or like a smaller setup that works with the local communities at a rural level, which of course I believe should indirectly also help the scientists because they're more aligned with the biology there. So do you all have such centers that, I just wanted to know about those?
So, okay, so let me explain the second part first. Although we call, the centers as Bangalore and Hyderabad and Pune, when the centers were actually formed, they were not right in the middle of the city. They were actually outside the city. The things have expanded, the cities have expanded, and now they are part of the cities. We have our field stations which are remote in areas, and actually these field stations being in those remote areas helped inculcate the scientific temper in the local community. People do get excited about this kind of research activities that are happening, and such kind of science popularization programs also take place in those places. So the outreach activities of TIFR across all centers is something that we take up in order to popularize the science and take what we are discovering to common man. and also help inculcate this kind of scientific temper. But opening centers at rural areas is not the mandate of TIFR. So TIFR's mandate is to do fundamental research. So now the fundamental research can have two kinds of research activities. One is a theoretical, mathematical, where you do not need big facilities or big experimental units. But then there is also another way of doing this research is the experimental research, for which you need a lot of infrastructure. Now, developing that kind of infrastructure in a rural area, unless that area is very suitable for a specific kind of experiment. So, for example, the field station that we have at Gauri Bidnoor, it is built for studying the gravitational forces. So for which we need place which is secluded and far away from hustle bustle and the highways, and there should not be much vibrations. So when we want some specific requirement of that kind, or for example the gamma ray telescope that we have in Hanle in Ladakh, we would like to have it at the highest height. So that's a place which is very useful. It should have minimum interference from other such activities. So unless such kind of a very dedicated and very important or crucial requirement is there, the experimental facilities building in rural areas is not something trivial. Okay. So having centers in rural area is not something that TIFR's mandate is. But whatever TIFR does, we actually try our level best to take the common man with us and make them understand what kind of exciting things that we are doing. So that's the answer to the second part. Now, answer to the first part is I will urge you to go to website of Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education. See, the HBCSE is actually involved in, as the name suggests, in science education research. Now, under science education research, it is a mathematics education research, physics education research, biology education research, chemistry education research. It's all about how practically and nicely these subjects can be taught at the school level. What are the basic, I mean, this is an example, what are the basic misconceptions that are getting carried by the children, even by the teachers. So for that, newer methodologies are being developed, newer textbooks are developed, and with examples, with hands-on experiments, these concepts can be cleared to students, even in the rural area. And Homi Bhabha Center also conducts some of the programs of science popularization in a very rural schools, where children don't have access to even basic instruments that a city school will have. So that kind of activities Homi Bhabha Center takes place. It also is actively participating in nurturing students for Olympiads in participation. I mean, India's representation in the international Olympiad. So that training also happens at Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education. Apart from that, it also is now undertaking science education not only at the school level but also at the undergraduate level, because there also there is a lot of gap is building up. So hands-on experimentation, research, exposure to simple research projects, that also happens in Homi Bhabha Science Center. So these are the kind of rough branches in which Science Education Center for Homi Bhabha Center is working on. But I will urge you to go to their website and take a look at what are the different activities that they have. Okay, and they also conduct a fantastic outreach program. So, in fact, all of you, I will request that at some point in time you should visit. They have a very nice exhibitions about various aspects of science education. So you should see that. It's fun. Yeah.
Talked about TIFR being like focusing on basic research. That is very good. But do you have a forum where the scientists can discuss their research with other people who are interested to take it forward, or just have a discussion on this is what we are working on? What could be the commercial implication of these things that we are trying to discover or trying to find out?
Yeah. So, okay. So there are different aspects to answer to this question. Okay. So one aspect is discussing and sharing findings among peers. Okay. And that TIFR regularly does. We organize conferences. Scientists from TIFR do go participate in international and national conferences. We share our findings. We share our excitement. We also make, all the research that happens also is get published in peer-reviewed journals, and that's how the information is put up to the community. But that is for peers. Now, the second aspect is whether these discoveries are, if some of those discoveries have any potential for commercial application, whether they can be communicated with industries and all. So one aspect of that is patent, right? So very lately, now TIFR scientists are also getting involved in patenting whatever the technologies that they are developing or whatever discoveries that they have, which they feel can have a pioneering role in future technology. We are doing that, and there are some research fields or research activities which have a direct link with industries. Okay, so that definitely happens. And plus now TIFR also is taking steps for doing science communication with common people. And that is also another way of spreading whatever that we have discovered. So yes, there was a time when research institutes like TIFR were like, secluded place where many people didn't know what's going on. But now that scenario is not the case. We are trying to communicate and try to connect with people and take these discoveries to common people. So we do writings in newspapers. We also have our podcasts and the Chai and Why program that happens every twice or thrice a month. So these are the kind of outreach activities are also part of this science popularization. So there are different levels at which this information distribution takes place. Specifically, contacting industries and calling them over here and showing them, that has not yet started. Yeah. I'll let you know. Okay. I think now that science communication also has a a web page on TIFR, we will keep updating it so you can get it over there. Yeah.
So yeah, for more details, you can always check our webpage, and there are webpage on science communication and everything. So unfortunately, we cannot take more questions, and we'll have to end the session here. So let's thank Professor Prabhu Desai again for the great session. And so we have a break right now. So we'll conclude the session here, and we'll continue again after 2 p.m. And so then there will be again talks and one more round of quiz and so on and so forth. So please be back here at 2 p.m. Thank you.